Hello. My puppy is in here. Oh my goodness, this place is a pit. Hello. How's everybody doing today? Hello, Tamara. Hi, Tracy. Hi, Matt. How are we all doing today? How are we having a lovely day? Hello, Kathy. Hello, Sweet 1876. Hello, 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 everybody. Hello, Jessica. How's everybody doing today? It's Tuesday. It snowed in Minnesota. For a half second, I thought I saw somebody. So I'm going to say hi to them. I'm saying hi to my full moon tier of my Patreon, who are Jackie and Meg. These lives go on to my YouTube, and they have the opportunity to have me look at their birth chart to see what's going on, because they are in that tier of my astrology. Hi, Jackie. How are you? So, Jackie, because you're part of my Patreon at the full moon level, I can look at your chart if you want me to, or I can pull cards, because you joined the live. So what would you like me to do, my friend? Just let me know what works better for you. Well, I gave you a couple options, sweetheart. I can pull cards. I can look at your chart. Chart is good. Okay, cool. All right. Is there anything in particular you want me to look for while I am pulling it up? The only people that can have their chart pulled, by the way, are those that have joined my Patreon at any level, actually. But the full moon level, I give shout outs to as well. Where are you? Where is Jackie? I'm open to whatever pops up to you. Oh, that is dangerous. How was your husband's birthday, by the way? Was it an uneventful April Fool's Day? I certainly hope so. Good. All right, my friend. Let's see what jumps out. Are you getting the big feels right now? Like, had putt-putt, sushi, and bubble tea. Oh, let me know if you want a recipe for a brown sugar milk tea. It's not exactly bubble tea, but fuzzy underneath. So I put on a new screen protector, and now I have a fuzzy underneath it. So now I have to figure out if I want to just waste it. So there's that. Send me a message on Discord, and I will send you a picture of the brown sugar milk tea, because there's that. Thank you for liking the lives, guys. So, Jackie, what jumps out at me is I'm noticing, we've talked before, you have a yod. And for those of you who don't know what a yod is, it is when you have two planets that are at a base of what looks like a very tight triangle. So on a chart, it's a blue line that goes between two planets, and then a dotted line that comes to a point. And what they're pointing to is what is being activated. And your Chiron, I don't know if we talked about this when we had our session together. Your Chiron is sitting at 18 degrees of Taurus in your fourth house. Did we talk about that during your session? Let me know. Because that's a pretty significant point, especially as we get closer to the 20th. And we're going to talk more about this. Okay, just briefly. Okay, cool. So for those of you that are in the full moon tier of my Patreon, on April, let me make sure I have the right date. I want to say it's the 16th. It's the 17th. On April 18th at 11 a.m. Central, 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific time, we're going to be talking likely about the Uranus-Jupiter conjunction. I think I've just made the decision. And Jackie, you're going to have to let me know. I think it'll be okay with you and Meg because we talked a little bit about it before. On April 20th at, is it 20 degrees? Now I'm second guessing myself. I feel like it is. Let me look this up. At 21 degrees of Taurus. So on April 20th at 21 degrees of Taurus, there's a lot of twos going on here. Jupiter and Uranus are going to be holding hands, and they're actually building to this as we speak right now. So you might start to feel this energy now. Jupiter is the planet that is expansion, growth, wants freedom. If you know mythology, he's Zeus in Roman mythology. So he's the king of the gods. That's why it's the biggest planet. And then you have Uranus, who likes to disrupt things, likes to bring technology, likes to make you think outside of the box. And the two of them are going to be holding hands at the peak on the 20th. So it's building right now, and we are a good 18 days before that. It's because they move very slowly together. Oh, you know what? Steve Jobs was born underneath this conjunction. And look at all this technology. I'm using the iPhone that he created. I'm using the Mac that he created. So the oh goody you just put, Jackie, it's okay. It's okay. You have a couple weeks to get used to this. And, you know, I've done some special training about this conjunction. I've listened to, because I'm really interested, because it's actually conjunct my South Node. For you, Jackie, it is going to be next to your Chiron. So what I would be curious about as we go closer to it, then as we hit April 20th, and then for maybe the next couple weeks after, do you feel like there's some past life healing that is happening around your home? Or how you view your place around home, your safety, your security around home, and or healing that's happening with, like, it doesn't necessarily just have to be past lives. It could be also, this life, but like in your childhood. So I would be curious if you're noticing any of that, because you're very intuitive. You see a lot of things in your dream life. So I'm really curious. So, absolutely in the middle of stuff right now with a good friend. Ooh, okay. So I would make note of it. It is Mercury retrograde, so it isn't something that I feel like you would need to act on. And we're going to still be in retrograde on April 20th because we don't get out of retrograde until April 25th. But it is, I think it's interesting because maybe it will accelerate healing, and sometimes it's uncomfortable, and that's okay, because sometimes we have to be uncomfortable to grow, if that makes sense. Cool. So that's the first thing that pops out. With the Yod in mind that we were talking about earlier, you have that also activating your moon. So your Sagittarius moon is being activated because of it, as is your Saturn and your Mars. So you have a lot of tools in your toolbox to work through this energy. So you have a Saturn in Libra, you have a Mars in Libra, and you have a Sagittarius moon. So your toolbox to support that Chiron growth is free flowing. So it's like they're like your backup squad is one way you could think about it, because it's like a tuning fork. So anytime your Chiron is being stimulated down here, the Saturn and Mars and your moon are going to be touch points because there's a sextile between them. So that might give you a little bit more optimism, because a Sagittarius moon can give you a little bit more optimism. It's interesting that you said this is about with a good friend right now, because your moon is in your 11th house. 11th house is typically the house of friendship. So it's interesting that this healing that you're working through right now is about that. I find that interesting. It's curious. I like to be curious when I look at a chart. And then the Mars in Libra is like a fighter for peace and for harmony. And so it kind of, the thing I don't want you to do, or to caution you against, I guess, is that, because you said it's on target, is to not be so accommodating that you don't stay in your own power. The fact that Mars is in Libra with you could enable you to give you the strength to stay in your own power in this. Turn off my FaceTime on my computer because I cannot seem to do that. Oh, sorry, random. Just saying. I've tried everything. Anytime my computer is up and going and somebody tries calling me, FaceTime pops up, and I could really do without that. So there's just that. That's your comic relief for today. You're welcome. Good grief. Let's see if I can just go this to sleep. Oh, you funny. I'm hilarious. I'm so glad we're good friends. So that is my thought process. I'm going to see if I can turn my phone on Do Not Disturb, and then maybe just maybe FaceTime won't just pop on. All right, so does that make sense to you, Jackie? Let me know. So for those of you just joining, my name is Sarah. I'm a mom and I'm an astrologist. And if you're part of my Patreon at any level, I can look at your chart. And you can find out information about my Patreon in the link in my bio. It is it's a fun place to hang out. Jackie is part of my full moon tier, so she also gets to have shout outs with the wonderful Meg, because these lives will end up on YouTube. I won't be showing charts. I'll just be talking through them. And when we have a session together, should you ever decide to have one with me, I rarely show a chart anyways, because I'd rather have a conversation anyways. So Jackie says, making sure the balance between me and my friend is honored is part of the old past issues. Yes, and it's with as much stuff in Libra that you do have, because you have Pluto, Saturn, and Mars there, it's easy to want to be accommodating. So just remember, you have a say too, because you're an adult. And you deserve to be honored in that way too. And all of that is there to support your healing of Chiron. So I think that's interesting. Yes. And you might also, if you feel like there's some past life stuff that is about your body, and how you view your body, that just seems to be going away naturally or activated, like you need to focus on that also might be punctuated by this conjunction, because your Chiron is talking to your South Node in a very beautiful way. So with your Chiron trining your South Node we talked about this last month, South Node and North Node represent the eclipse. And so with your South Node being activated here as a trine, and technically your north node would be too, as a sextile, you might feel like there's some karmic things being activated as well. So just drink lots of water is the thing that I think about when I'm looking at this chart, especially with your north node in Cancer. Make sure you're staying hydrated. Make sure you're eating good foods that are healthy for your body, and you're listening to your body, especially listening to your body as we approach this conjunction for you. So let me know how that works for you. I know we'll talk more because, you know, we have other things in common too. Especially with Deity Academy and Egyptian mythology coming up. I know. I read the reading list for the Deity Academy for the Egyptian mythology, and I was so excited that a lot of the books I already read. That made me feel so happy. The Cain Chronicles. Has anybody who's watching the live read any of Rick Riordan's books? I'm talking Percy Jackson, so that was Greek mythology, and then there was the Cain Chronicles, that is Egyptian mythology. I think they do a really good job with Egyptian mythology with that one. I really, really liked that series. He has a series about Norse mythology, and then he takes the Percy Jackson and puts it into Roman mythology as well. Because the Greek and Roman, even though they share gods in the respect that Zeus is the same as Jupiter, they don't really feel the same to me. Like, Zeus feels very free-throwy, free-flowy. He wanted to have fun with everybody anytime kind of thing. Like, very indulgent, king-like. Where Zeus in Roman mythology feels more warrior-like. But I could be wrong. That's just my feels. You're welcome to your own opinion. Let me know what you think, too. Oh, good. I'm glad and it's the same is true like with Aries and Mars. Everything in the Roman pantheon just feels more warlike because honestly, that's how they viewed a lot of the myths of the time. Greek mythology feels more romantic, not necessarily romantic as I love somebody, but like romanticism. I'm not using my words very well. We can blame Mercury retrograde. Yes, more structured and rigid for Roman mythology is a good way to look at it too. So, you're right. So anybody else watching the live or watching the replay, let us know if you've read any of Rick Riordan's books. I think he's a really gifted author. I just read Magnus Chase. That is the latest one that he just wrote, and he co-wrote that one with a non-binary author. So I'm wondering if he's starting to want to retire a little bit and kind of let other authors take over his mantle, which would be really cool because he, now I'm thinking Magnus Chase is not the right word. All right, now I gotta Google this. Going to the Zon. Magnus Rick Riordan. Yeah, that I don't know how to spell. Rick Riordan. All right, so it is the Trial of Apollos. That's different. Heroes Olympus is Magnus Chase is the Greek one, or is the Norse mythology. The one that he just had come out is The Sun and Star, which is about Nico D'Angelo. So Nico D'Angelo in this pantheon is the son of Hades. And I have a strong affinity for Hades and Persephone. Jackie and I were in a group called the Forgotten Storytellers, and I wrote a book about, I took Persephone's myth because I don't feel like she ever got a voice, and I rewrote it with the help of Emily and Crystalline in the Forgotten Storytellers program. I was able to channel in Persephone and Hades and Demeter, and my book is a two-part kind of book in one, where there's a past, which is rewriting in the myth, and I called those chapters then, and then there's a present, which is now. I am so excited for it too. I have to figure out how I'm going to get it published. So there's that. The now is Persephone, Demeter. Everybody is still here today in a lake town. I live in Minnesota, so I was picturing Cross Lake, which is a giant lake in Minnesota, and they have beautiful houses there. Some are big, some are small. And so you only see Persephone in times when you need her. In The Sun and the Star, she makes an appearance in that book. That's the tie-in for it all. So highly recommend the Sun and Star with Nico D'Angelo. So there's that. Thank you for sharing my live. So we are in day 2 of our Mercury retrograde. I personally love Mercury retrogrades. I know I'm weird, but that's okay. I envisioned, first off, I envisioned Hermes, which is the Greek god that Mercury is based off of, just going, ooh, April Fools. How can I, F-A-F-O. I heard that on here on TikTok, and I figured out what those letters mean. So I feel like Hermes was going like that with Mercury retrograde. The thing I like about Mercury retrograde, though, is I actually was born with Mercury retrograde in my chart, which is important for you to discover for yourself, because I have a theory. My theory is if you were born with Mercury retrograde in your chart, the retrogrades make your head feel clearer. Like, for a lot of people, my husband especially, last night he had a horrible time going to bed. And this is activating everything in his 6th house. And so he's been really concerned about work and whatnot. He has Mercury moving forward in his chart. For me, I have Mercury retrograde. So whenever Mercury retrograde happens in the sky, I feel like everything is just that much clearer for me to think things through. Do I still make sure I read through contracts? Yes. Well, hello, my dear. 2 days in a row you caught me. Congratulations. And so I find it interesting. So if you go to astro.com, I show you how to make your own birth chart in the link in my bio. If you go to astro.com, you can create your own birth chart. And what I would invite you to do is to go find the little glyph that says Mercury. There's a box that's on the left side. And just see if there's a little R there. And I can show you what that looks like. I'll pull up my chart so you can see what you're looking for. It's very common to have retrograde planets in the outer planets like Saturn, Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, because they move so slowly, they retrograde often. So what I would love for you to do, now I gotta figure out how I'm gonna flip the screen. Flip R by your Mercury, because I have a theory that if you have a little R by your Mercury, you probably can, that's my theory. And I would love to be able to test that theory by having evidence, by having you guys tell me, yes, Sarah, you're correct, or no, Sarah, you're not correct. And I'm okay with it being told, no, I'm not correct, because this is your chart, not my chart. My chart, I just feel that way. So there's that. I cut off when I switched the camera. So what part didn't you miss? Did you get to see my chart little box thingy? It paused. Okay. So did it show you my chart? Okay, cool. So what I mentioned this to my husband, and he said he always thought it was funny how everyone else freaks. Okay, so for context, Jackie's husband is also born with Mercury retrograde in his chart, and he's comfortable during retrogrades too. So I got two people. I got me, and I got Jackie's husband. So there's that. So what I would love for people to do who are watching this live or on the replay, go to astro.com. You need 3 pieces of information to be able to look up your chart. You need the day you were born, you need to know where you were born, and you need to know what time you were born. Doing a noon chart just because you don't know the time may not be very accurate. As long as Mercury wasn't changing direction that day, you could still probably figure out the retrogrades, but if you don't have the exact time of birth, you won't necessarily figure out the houses and things like that. So there's that. Yeah, so I have Jupiter. Remember that conjunction, Jackie, we were just talking about with your Chiron? Yeah, it's all going to be happening with Chiron in the sky next to Jupiter at the same time too in my chart. So lots of big things happening. Yeah, all the things. Astrology is fun. So it is fun! Exclamation point. Oh, did you check out our Discord channel, by the way, Jackie? I posted a picture in there of the cutest way to decorate your couch. And then Gregory said it popped up in his Facebook. So now I suspect that Facebook listens and watches our phones as much as they do listen to our phones. I think that's funny. Yeah. For those of you watching the live, what I shared with my friends in our Discord channel is a picture that I saw on Facebook. It's a couch that is surrounded by bookcases. So instead of putting your couch in your living room with end tables, if you want to have it be away from a wall because that works best for your house, you could put bookshelves behind it and on the sides of it and have that be your end tables instead. I kind of have that going on right now as it is in my living room. So there's that. I think it's kind of cool. I really do. Oh, and I am trying something new. Should I just show you guys? I'm in my office right now. This is my office. If you ever have a Zoom call with me, this is where I am. But I'm trying something different. Okay, so as I shared earlier, I wrote a book rewriting Persephone's myth, and I've gotten very close to Demeter. I feel she's pretty amazing. And I've always struggled with my life with growing things. And then when I was writing this book, I started growing things easier. Mainly my problem with growing things is I forget to water them. And water is life, I know. So I saw something on Instagram, where if you take a rose stem and that's also my problem. I overwater it. I am so glad my oldest is a horticulture greenhouse management person, because they come and check my plants and then they scold me and tell me, Mom, really? And I say, Bonnie, truly, just do your magic, because you're magical, because they are. So I saw on Instagram, you can take a rose stem, dip it in honey, poke it into a potato, bury it, cut off the top of it, and it will grow a rose bush. So I thought I would try that experiment, because it's not really costing me anything but the honey that I put on it and the potato, because the rose was given to me as a gift. And I know. Wouldn't that be awesome? We have issues trying to grow rose bushes in our neighborhood because we have Japanese beetles that like to come and eat said rose bush, but I thought if I started it in my house, it might work better. So I'm going to take you to where I'm growing it. So how does that sound to you guys? You gotta walk through my house with me. It's going to get a little dark because the hallway light isn't on. And this is going to be fun for the people on YouTube. All right, so, and hopefully the audio doesn't cut out too much. So this is my space that I meditate in. I have like a little memorial area to my loved ones. This is my rosemary that I keep and grow for protection. That's my son's plant. You weren't born with Mercury on retrograde, but I was born Jupiter retrograde and Chiron retrograde. And so this is my Rita. Rita is my she's like a second mom to me, and my dad passed away when I was 2. So that's Larry, that was her husband. That's my dad. I helped him have a spa day. Because he wouldn't go have a spa day. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you should follow Emily Dexter. So this is the rose. So according to the directions, you take the rose thing. And the reason why I chose to do this is because there was actually growth happening out of these thorns right here. There was like a lot of growth happening there. And I've never seen that before, ever. So I dipped the bottom into honey, and then I poked it into a potato, and then I buried it. And these little tubules that you see here, those are daffodils. I had to bring this inside because it snowed in Minnesota. And it snowed again in Minnesota. And then this is the planter that I dedicated to Persephone while I was reading my book or writing my book. And this ivy, which should not be around, according to Bonnie, is, and it's growing quite nicely. So there's that. So let me flip the camera. Can you hear me again? I know. So yeah, so this is my setup. This is where I went live yesterday for those that joined me yesterday. Now I'm going back to my office where the lighting is so much better. All right, so there's that. Did you enjoy the little field trip? All right, so I gave up on potted plants, but I have watered plants in jars and moss. All right, so Jackie, I need to know what I should do because I have a plant that I bought at Home Depot that I think has outgrown the jar. It's a little jar. I think I just need to get a bigger jar. And I just have to figure out if it needs to have a lid or not. You're very welcome. Is your name Leanne? Leanne? Is that how I say it? Leanne? You'll have to let me know phonetically how to pronounce your name, my dear. So yeah. You mentioned, my dear, that you were born with Jupiter retrograde and Chiron retrograde. So was I. And when you're born with retrograde planets, all that means is the action is very internal. So and then if they're forward moving, that's external. It's the same as if it's in the sky. So Jupiter, I get big emotions on the inside. I had a really big temper growing up. Now, not so much. I've learned how to control it. But for me, my Jupiter was retrograde. Chiron was retrograde. Chiron is retrograde most of the time, which in a way makes sense because if Chiron is supposed to represent the wound that needs to be healed, taking time to really evaluate it on the inside, to me, just makes sense. In my head, at least, it does. And then I was born with Mercury retrograde. The only planets that don't retrograde are the moon and the sun. They can't. And the nodes never retrograde, but they do move backwards. So currently the nodes, which is the eclipse, that's why we have an Aries eclipse happening on Monday. The Aries solar eclipse is going to be a north node eclipse, so that's going to be futuristic, future things coming in kind of a thing, and it will be opposite the south node, but the sun and moon will be together. If you live in the path of it, make sure that you have glasses or something. I found some at the grocery store for $1.50, so I can bring those with. I'll actually be in Denver. I don't know that I'll see anything, but I remember the last solar eclipse we had on October 14th. It got really cold. Like, it was a really warm day, and when the solar eclipse happened, it started to happen, like, the peak was at a particular time, but it started like almost an hour before, and the temperature just dropped dramatically, and the birds stopped talking. You saw it in 2017, and that's when I started my spiritual journey. It was my Saturn return. So Saturn return is a big life event, and when you have a full session with me, I look up your Saturn activation, your Saturn transits. That's okay. You don't have to watch it every year. I honestly don't know if I'll be watching it either. It's supposed to happen at its peak, I think at 1:30 Central Time, so that would be 12:30 Mountain. I'll be in Denver, so there's that. But the solar eclipse is outward movement. It's everything. So you might see things in the headlines, because back in the way olden days, solar eclipses were thought to be ruled by the king of whatever country that person is. And in fact, they would actually have a person who wasn't the king be king for the day, so that if something bad happened, they could blame that person and keep the actual king safe. Your Saturn return was mild, but after was much more intense. Well, you might be integrating everything that happened with your Saturn return as well. My Saturn return gave me my son, my second child. And I remember when I held Connor for the very first time, I thought, my family's complete. Because I thought for some reason I needed to have all my children before I was 30. And so I gave birth to our second child, Connor, when I was 29. And I was going to turn 30 in that October. So both my children are actually Aquarius suns. Both are Scorpio risings. And my oldest is a Pisces moon, and my youngest is a Gemini moon. And when I was learning how to read these birth charts that I showed earlier, I was a teacher for 14 years, and so I would spend a lot of time at conferences just helping parents understand how to work with the teachers that would work with their kids. And I missed that part of it. I really did. I missed it a lot. So I found Tara Vogel, who is part of Luminary Parenting, and she had a course on how to read charts for parents to understand their kids. And so what I do for parents is, if their child is under 18 and lives in their house, meaning they take care of them and whatnot, I can pull up your child's chart, and I will be developmentally conscious of how to read that chart and help your child have the best path that they possibly can. Meaning, if a 22-month-old is the chart that I'm seeing and helping a parent, the advice I give for that parent that has a 22-month-old is going to be very different than a 7-year-old or a 14-year-old, because what a 22-month-old has for tools at that age they're new. There's not much extra stuff that I can help with. A 7-year-old is still in the moon years, but they're starting to get into the Mercury years. You start with your moon years, which means you're very connected to your emotions. That's why water is so important to little babies. They feel very calm usually because of the water. If you do baths, they're very in tune with the moon itself. So if you ever have struggles with your children, a parenting hack is figuring out what element the moon is in and then do that with your kids. For example, today the moon is in Capricorn, so having them play in the dirt or go outside and play or have their feet go into the grass, that could naturally calm them, okay? If the moon, tomorrow it's going to be in Aquarius, so that's an air sign. It might feel a little bit detached, like they might not have a lot of emotions, but it's an air sign. So they might have out-of-the-box idea, and if you can honor their ideas, sometimes under an Aquarius moon, I'm natally an Aquarius moon, sometimes under an Aquarius moon you end up having situations where your kid will go, no, I don't want to do it that way. I want to do it this way. And can you honor that? Well, my dear, if you stay connected to me, I'll always be here to remind you of that because I talk about it often. And for those that receive my newsletter, this kind of tips and stuff I try to put into my newsletter as well. And those in my Patreon, if they have questions, they can comment underneath my post there, and I can help them understand it a little bit better than I would be able to by replying to an email. It's a safer community where we grow together. Would you agree, Jackie? At least I would hope so. But this is also true, Leonie, about pets. So pets, oh, I'm so glad you enjoy it. So pets have, if you think about it, pets are just as intuitive as toddlers are because they can't talk and they can pick up your emotions probably better than most people out there. Your cat's birthday is this month. It's on the 16th. Oh, happy birthday! You have an Aries cat. Does it like to take charge? Does it like to be in control? Does it like to take the lead? Or is it pretty laid back? I have a Scorpio son for a dog. His name is Max. And he has been so afraid of storms and weather and whatnot all of his life. He's a rescue. He's a hound mix. I think he's a mix of either a pit or a boxer. And the people who had him first in Georgia was not very kind to him. They left him outside. I talked to an animal communicator, and what she was able to find out is he was left outside in a thunderstorm, and that's why he's so afraid of thunderstorms. Because I was trying to figure out how to help him, because he gets so scared that he just shakes. Like you can see him visibly shaking, and I would have to go into our spare bedroom with him, and I would let him get on the bed so he could snuggle with me. Normally we don't have our dogs, or our Moonlight sometimes would come on, but Moonlight's passed for a couple of years. But he would get on the bed, and the bed would shake so much. Do you remember those coin-operated beds that would be in hotel rooms that you would see in movies, and then the whole bed would shake? That's how scared he was. And so for the last couple of years, I've been trying to figure out how to support him, because nobody should be that much in that much fear, you know? So I've tried using flower essences. That does help a little bit. It could be PTSD. I do know that if a man, and it doesn't seem to bother him if a woman does, but if a man has work gloves on, he gets all growly all the time. they can't. I tried a thunder shirt, but he doesn't really like being constricted because I think he probably was in a small space when he was little. And he wasn't well taken care of. But what I've done that's similar to catnip is I have CBD treats that seem to work okay. They kind of mellow him out a little bit. But there's a flower essence called Rescue Remedy, and you can get it for adults and you can get it for pets. The pets one works for adults too. The difference between the two is the pets is a tincture that's made with alcohol, and the pets one is made without alcohol. So if you don't want alcohol, get the Rescue Remedy for pets. It'll work the same way as the Rescue Remedy for adults. And so I take Rescue Remedy and I put about 5 drops of it onto a porous kind of treat. And I just let that soak in. And if I know a storm is going to happen, because we live in Minnesota, storms happen, especially in July and August, I'll dose his water because there's no way to give too much of this Rescue Remedy. The only thing I don't like of it is if he does have a lot of it, he gets a very dopey smile and his tongue hangs out because he's kind of high. But he's not scared. Oh, totally. Very high. And it's like, it's not crazy eyes, but melatonin and whatnot. Oh, geez, it says some comments are being filtered to protect the community experience. So I don't know if that was filtered, Jackie. But you're right. So there's that. Max, did you want to say hi? Did you want to come here? He was barking at something. He doesn't like FedEx trucks or UPS trucks. Oh, because I said that. I'm pretty sure that was the word that set it off. So there's that. Max, come here. The audacity of people to walk their dogs and be outside. The audacity. That is what he's basically telling the world right now. So, anyways, I want to thank you for joining. If you want to have more of a connection, be sure to follow me on all my channels. I'm SRB Stars on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all of the places. I'm SRB Stars. I have a Patreon that I would love for you to check out. The lowest tier is $5. The highest tier is $25. And there's benefits in there like learning how to read your own birth chart. I have a class in there that does that. And having a Q&A session and things like that. Jackie is part of my community, as is Meg, and I'm so grateful. My goal through this Patreon community is not only to build it up to help empower you to be able to understand your energy a little bit better. You'll then be able to transfer it to the people that you know and love if they are okay with you looking up their charts. But my goal is also to use the money that I earned from this Patreon to publish my book. So that is a true statement. I really would love to be able to publish my book with money that I earned through my metaphysical attributes because it's a metaphysical book. It's about Greek gods, for Pete's sake. And it's a love story that I really can't wait for the world to see. There's no... I made it in such a way that a high school or middle school could have the book in their library because of my middle school teaching background. I wanted to be able to have that be accessible. So there isn't any mature content, so to speak, in it. It's just a love story between Persephone, Hades, and then Demeter and Persephone, and Demeter coming to understand her daughter's most authentic self. I have a non-binary, not spicy, that's the word that I was looking for. Thank you, Jackie. I have a non-binary child, my oldest is, and when I was writing it from the viewpoint of Demeter, I really, really could sympathize with Demeter and how she had to adjust and come to understand and still love, not still, I've never stopped loving Bonnie, but like understand what not, because I didn't know non-binary existed when Bonnie came out because it was such a new term. And Demeter didn't really, acceptance, that's the word I'm looking for. Jackie, I'm so glad we're friends, and I'm so glad you understand me and what words I'm trying to say, because words can be hard. So there's that. So Demeter had to come to accept Persephone not only with her new name, but the fact that she was married and she would not be with her mother for all of her life. She would be with her husband, and that she actually loved her husband. So that's how I wrote the book. And then I feel like in some ways Demeter is the original mother of parents who have non-binary children. That is, it's something that I've been thinking about, and that just feels like, or just trans children in general, because Persephone transformed more than just her name. She transformed how she looks at herself, how she feels empowered, because her name before she went to the underworld was Kori, which is maiden of spring, and now she's the queen of the underworld. And a lot of people think that the underworld is hell. It's not. It's just the next place that people went to in Greek mythology. So, and then from there, Hades and the judges would figure out where you needed to go. So that's my take on all of that. So that's why I have my Patreon. So between this, my Patreon, my readings, my goal is to have that all help fund my book so it can come out into the world and hopefully help others find acceptance and understanding. Yes, we do need more underworld stories. I still need to start writing the complement to it, because this book takes it from the original myth, so it would be the myth, fall and winter, and then springish, and then spring and summer in the now part. And so I want to make the now part of fall and winter so we can see what Demeter does while Persephone is with her husband. And then the then part would be Persephone and Demeter in their first summer, spring together and figuring out how to work together. That's my goal. How does that sound? Did you guys want to see my dog? While I wait for your answers. Max. He's done barking. Hey, Max. You want to say hi? No? You don't want to say hi? You're just going to lay there? Well, that's fine. You can stop barking then. He can be a good boy if he chooses to be, so there's that. So I'm going to go watch my new series that I'm watching. Jackie, I talked about it on our Discord. It froze. It froze again. All right. So I'm going to say goodbye. I hope that y'all have a wonderful night. And until I see you next time, if you want to make sure you catch my lives, go to my profile, click on the bell, and that way you'll get notifications of when I will go live again. Talk to you later.